Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're exploring some really fascinating material. It's about the principles for developing meditation, specifically Samatha-vipassanā, as taught by Phramongkolthepmuni, Lumpur Wat Paknam, as many know him.
That's right. And it's quite a specific, detailed map he lays out for the meditative journey.
So our mission for this deep dive.
Well, I think we really need to unpack his unique approach.
Yeah.
Understand the core idea, this stopping the mind,
Right?
and where exactly you're meant to do that, and then map out the progression he describes through these sort of internal states and bodies. It's quite distinct.
Okay. And listener, just a heads up, we'll be using some important Pali terms directly from the source. They're pretty crucial for getting the real nuances here.
Absolutely essential. The teaching itself, it starts right at the foundation. The core instruction attributed to all Buddhas, the source makes it clear this is the shared baseline.
And that baseline is abandon evil, do good, purify the mind. Simple sounding, but deep.
Exactly. By body, speech, and mind for all three. And that last part, purifying the mind, well, that's where this practice, Samatha-vipassanā, really comes in.
That's the mechanism.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the source immediately goes into the types of, let's say, spiritual knowledge needed. It introduces vijja, knowledge, with a direct quote from the Buddha.
It is.
Dimi bhikkhave vijjagya.
Okay.
Meaning, oh, bhikkhus, there are two kinds of knowledge.
And these are the two we often hear about, right? Samatha and vipassana, calm and insight.
The very same. But this teaching, it defines their specific roles, their purpose, and even the sequence in a way that's, well, really key to the whole method.
Thought so.
It lays it out almost like a Q&A, a dialogue. It asks, Samatha bhavito kimatha manupoti.
Which means?
For what purpose is samatha cultivated? And the answer given in the source is quite striking, I think.
Okay.
Citta bhavyati, for the arising of the mind.
The arising of the mind, that sounds different. Not just calming the mind, but making it arise. What does that imply in this context?
Well, it suggests samatha isn't just about, quieting the noise. It's about actually cultivating the mind's inherent capacity, making it strong, present, ready.
Okay.
Building it up.
Exactly. And when that mind has arisen, when it's cultivated, the dialogue continues. Citta bhavita kimata manuplote.
The mind has arisen. What's its purpose?
Yes. And the answer, yorago sopayati. Desire is abandoned.
I see. So you cultivate the mind through samatha, make it strong and arisen, and that developed state is what actually allows desire to be let go of.
Precisely. It's the foundation, the prerequisite state for dealing with that particular defilement, desire.
Okay, that clarifies the role of calm. It's preparatory work, in a way. What about vipassana, then? Insight.
So the dialogue moves on. Vipassana bhavita kimath manupoti. For what purpose is vipassana cultivated?
And the answer?
Panya bhavyati. For the arising of wisdom.
Makes sense. Calm for the mind, insight for wisdom, and when wisdom arises.
Yayuja sopayati. Ignorance is abandoned. So there's a clear pairing. Samatha develops the mind to abandon desire. Vipassana develops wisdom to abandon ignorance.
Exactly. It presents them as sequential, and each with a very specific target defilement.
Which really explains why Samatha is framed as the sort of initial knowledge focusing on calming, or as this teaching stresses, stopping the mind. And then Vipassana is the higher stage, seeing clearly. You need the stillness first.
You build the capacity for stillness to enable the clear seeing later. That's the idea. Now, the source does briefly mention the traditional wider fields of practice.
Right, the lists you sometimes see.
Yeah, the grounds or subjects, like the 40 for Samatha Kasina, Zasubha, and so on. And the 6 for Vipassana, like the 5 aggregates, Khandha 5, the 4 Noble Truths, Arya Saka 4.
Just to show the breadth.
Exactly, to provide context. But then this teaching just zooms right in on its specific core method for actually achieving these states.
This is where, as you said, it gets really specific and quite unique. The absolute cornerstone, the non-negotiable principle.
Yes, which is, to even start the samatha practice in this system, the mind must stop.
Must stop, not just slow down.
No, the source is incredibly clear on this.
Yeah.
If the mind doesn't stop, you simply cannot enter this realm of practice, according to this teaching. Stopping means really tranquilizing it, resting, achieving genuine stillness.
Complete stopping.
Arahant.
That sounds, well, incredibly difficult. Don't you need some mental activity just to be aware of stopping?
It's framed as a stillness of the scattered, restless thinking mind, and not a dullness or unconsciousness. It's a very focused, profound kind of stillness.
Okay.
And to understand what needs to stop, the teaching defines the mind kitsa, or jai, very practically here.
Oh, so.
It's described as 4 aspects converging: seeing, remembering, thinking, and knowing, all coming together at a single point.
So it's that whole package of conscious awareness that needs to be brought to stillness.
That's the idea. And not just anywhere. That's the other crucial part.
Ah, the location. Where does this stopping need to happen?
There's a very precise spot specified inside the body. It's called the center core, or kaṇḍa.
The center core. How do you locate that?
You visualize it. Imagine a line going straight from your navel through to your back,
Okay,
and another line from your right side straight across to your left,
got it.
where those 2 lines intersect, right in the middle, but also halfway inside your body depth-wise. That's the point.
So it's a 3-dimensional center point.
Exactly. And the source adds something significant. This point isn't just like anatomy. It's said to be the very center of the fundamental Dhamma-sphere that constitutes the human body itself.
Wow. So you're focusing right at the core of your own sort of spiritual structure.
That's the implication. You're aiming for the absolute center.
Okay, so the goal.
Yep.
Stop the mind. The location.
Yeah.
This precise inner center point. How? How do you actually make it stop there?
The practical instruction is, well, deceptively simple. You direct your mind to that center point. You just keep bringing it back, holding it there gently until it becomes still.
But what if it just won't stop? Which it probably won't for most of us starting out.
Right. And the source acknowledges that. If the mind is restless, if it wanders, it recommends using Borikam Havana, recitation.
Ah, like a mantra.
Exactly. A support word or phrase. The specific example given is Sama Arahant.
Sama Arahant.
You just gently repeat Sama Arahant,
Oh.
using it as an anchor to help guide the mind back to that center point over and over until it settles and becomes still.
And then what? Keep reciting.
No, once the mind is stopped at the center, you stop the recitation, you just maintain the stillness. The recitation is just a tool, like a rope you use to pull the mind in. Once it's there and still, you let go of the rope.
Okay.
If it wanders off again, you pick up the recitation again. Bring it back, stop reciting, just maintain stillness.
So the real achievement isn't the chanting, it's the stillness at that specific spot.
Precisely. The teaching hammers this home. When the mind stops correctly, right there at the center, that is samatha. That stillness is the entry point. It's considered absolutely pivotal. Well, the source claims the stopping is the key to success, not just spiritually, but even in worldly endeavors. Concentration, focus, achievement, it all stems from this ability to stop the mind.
And there's that Pali phrase emphasizing this, isn't there?
Yes, a very profound one. Nati santi param sukham.
Which means?
There is no happiness higher than stopping or stillness. It puts the ultimate value right there on that state of inner quiet, inner cessation.
That's a powerful statement.
It is. And it's not just about achieving it once. The path involves deepening it. Stopping within stopping, as the source puts it. Yud na yud.
Stopping within stopping. Okay, so what happens after you achieve that initial correct stopping at the center? Where does the path lead from there?
Well, the teaching describes a shift in perception. When the mind stops correctly, it's said to enter 10 and then fall into 0 or C0, Tik-Tok-san or Hen-san.
0. What does that feel like? Is it like emptiness, a void?
It's described not as nothingness, actually, but as the perception of a clear, bright sphere, Hangsai. Like seeing an internal moon or sun arising right at that spot where the mind stopped.
Ah, so 0 isn't empty. It's more like a threshold, a point where something new appears.
That seems to be the idea. A point of transition where this inner seeing begins, starting with this bright sphere.
And this first sphere, this Dwangsai, it's important.
Very important in the system. It's identified by several names. It's the Dhammanupassana Satipatthana sphere.
Okay.
It's also called Paihamaga, the initial path.
The very beginning of the way.
Yes. And crucially, it's called the Ikayanamaga, the single path. The source emphasizes this is the only way to Nibbana, the one path used by all Buddhas and Arahants.
The single path. Starting with this sphere.
Starting with perceiving this sphere through stopping. And progress along this single path requires continuously applying that principle. Yud na yud, stopping within stopping. You maintain and deepen the stillness at the center of whatever you're perceiving.
So you don't just see the first sphere and you're done. There's more.
Oh yes, it's a progression. By continuing to stop the mind at the center of the sphere you're currently seeing, A sequence of further clear spheres appears, often described as being nested inside the previous one.
What do these represent?
They represent perfected spiritual qualities becoming manifest. You see the Sila sphere, purified morality, then the Samadhi sphere, deep concentration, then Panya, wisdom, then Vimutti, liberation or deliverance, and finally, the Vimuttinya Dasana sphere, the knowledge and vision of that liberation.
Wow. A sequence of spheres embodying the path. And does it stop there?
No, beyond these initial spheres, the practice, still using stopping within stopping, leads to perceiving increasingly subtle internal bodies. Kaya.
Internal bodies, like subtle energy bodies.
Something like that.
Oh.
The initial stopping at the center allows you to perceive the subtle human body, Kaya Manudlayat. Then the journey continues through progressively refined states.
Can you give us a sense of that progression? It sounds very detailed.
It is extremely detailed. After the subtle human body, you move through states corresponding to sort of heavenly and Brahma realms. There's the subtle heavenly body, Kaya-thip, then its even subtler form, Kaila-thip-layat.
Okay.
Then the form Brahma bodies, Kaya-rupa-from, then Kaya-rupa-from-layat. And then the formless Brahma bodies, Kaya-rupa-from and Kaya-rupa-from-layat.
That's 8 bodies already. Subtle human up to subtle formless Brahma.
Correct. And these first 8 bodies, this whole progression, is considered the Samatha stage within this particular system.
So Samatha here isn't just basic calm. It's this whole intricate journey through 8 levels of subtle embodiment. That's quite something. What marks the shift to Vipassana then?
The appearance of the 9th body. This is the pivotal one. The Dhamma body, Kaya Dhamma.
The Dhamma body, what's that like?
It's described as resembling a clear, bright Buddha image. It embodies the Buddharatana, the jewel of the Buddha, and inside it is a sphere, the Dhammaratana, the jewel of the Dhamma. Seeing this body signifies entering the Vipassana stage.
And the path continues even from the Dhamma body.
Yes. From the first Dhamma body onwards, progressing through further, equally subtle bodies, all the way up to the 18th body listed in the full sequence, that whole stretch is considered the Vipassana stage.
And do these higher bodies correspond to the stages of enlightenment we hear about?
Exactly. After the initial Dhamma body in its subtle form, the practitioner perceives the Dhamma bodies that correspond to the noble attainments.
Right.
The Dhamma body of the stream enterer, Kayafra Sotapan, and its subtle form. Then the once returner, Kayafra Sakidaka, subtle form. Non-returner, Kayafra Naka, subtle form. And finally, the Dhamma body of the Arahant, Kaya for Arahat, and its subtle form, Kaya for Arahalayat.
The 18th body.
The 18th body. And at that Arahant stage, the source states all defilements are completely gone. Finished.
This is an incredibly detailed, almost like architectural map of the inner journey. Is the method for moving from one body to the next still the same?
The core method never changes. To enter the next sphere or the next body, you have to apply the principle of stopping, Yud. You focus on the very center of the sphere or body you are currently perceiving.
Mm-hmm.
You use your current level as the model, the BIP. Find its center, rest the mind there, make it still. And through that stillness, the next, more refined level reveals itself.
So the entire path, from the very first attempt at stopping the mind all the way to the Arahant body, it's all achieved through stopping.
According to this teaching, yes. Stopping at the center is the engine of progress all the way through.
That really drives home how absolutely central stopping is to this whole system. It's not just the starting point, it's the whole journey.
It is. And there's a famous story the source includes to really illustrate this point vividly.
Ah, the story of Angulimala.
Indeed. A very powerful story. He started life as Ahisaku Kumara, a promising student, but he was tricked by a jealous teacher into this horrifying task.
Collecting 1,000 human fingers became a terror.
A figure of absolute dread. He had almost reached his goal, 999 fingers, and his final intended victim was actually his own mother.
Unbelievable. But the Buddha intervened.
Just in time, Angulimala saw the Buddha walking calmly on the path ahead and decided he would be the 1,000th victim. He drew his sword and started running. He ran as fast as he could, this fearsome warrior, but he couldn't catch up. The Buddha just kept walking at a normal pace, always just ahead.
How is that possible?
That's the mystery. Angulimala, exhausted and furious, finally yelled out, "Stop, Samana, stop!"
And the Buddha's reply?
So calm, so profound, he turned and said, "Samana, I have stopped. You have not stopped."
I have stopped, you have not stopped. And Angulimala understood.
Instantly, according to the story, he had this flash of insight. He knew the Buddha wasn't talking about walking or running.
He meant stopping the mind.
Exactly. Stopping the endless cycle of craving, aversion, delusion, stopping the violence, the killing, the running towards suffering. He saw that the Buddha's true speed, his power, came from inner stillness, not frantic outer movement.
And that realization changed everything for him.
Completely. He dropped his sword, renounced his violence, asked for ordination, and eventually, through practice, became an Arahant himself.
It's such a dramatic illustration of the teaching that real progress comes from stillness.
It really is. And it underscores that this teaching, the center point, the stopping, the spheres, the bodies, it's presented not as, abstract philosophy.
But as a practical method.
Yes, a practical, verifiable path. The source even mentions, as evidence, practitioners at Wat Phak Nam, the temple associated with Luang Por Sod, who apparently achieved the Dhamma body using this method.
So it emphasizes practice, dedication.
Absolutely. It calls for real seriousness. Approaching the practice of stopping with the intensity you'd use to protect your own life, it's not casual.
So if we were to boil it down again, the absolute core instruction for someone wanting to try this method based on these teachings.
Find that specific center point inside the body, navel to back, side to side, halfway in. Gently bring your mind there. Let it rest. Seek stillness. If the mind wanders, use the recitation Sama Araha as a gentle anchor to bring it back. Once it's still at the center, stop the recitation. Just maintain the stillness.
Okay.
That stopping, that's the foundation, that's the method, that's the key that unlocks everything else described in this path.
Right. Well, this deep dive has certainly taken us into a very specific, very structured approach to Samatha-vipassanā. We've looked at the foundational ideas, the unique spin on calm and insight.
The absolute centrality of stopping the mind.
At that precise inner location.
Leading through this detailed map of internal spheres and bodies.
All the way to the stages of enlightenment.
It's quite a system.
Yeah.
And all anchored in that profound state of stillness. It really comes back to that Pali phrase.
Nati santi param sukham.
There is no happiness higher than stopping.
So, a final thought for you, the listener. In a world that seems to value speed, activity, constant motion, what might this ancient teaching focused on finding profound stillness at a precise center within yourself actually offer us today?
Yeah, how does that idea of an inner map, a path navigated solely by within stopping, resonate with your own sense of what growth or maybe even happiness means?
Something to ponder.